In an earlier video, I mentioned that there was a couple of screws that I couldn't get off because the smallest screwdriver that I owned was too big to fit in the screws. And the screwdriver head was a 0.6 millimeter wide, which is just slightly bigger than half a millimeter. Well, it turns out the width of the screwdriver wasn't the problem. The problem was the thickness of it. If you look at a screwdriver from the side under a magnifier, it doesn't actually come down to a sharp point or to a sharp edge like the edge of a knife. It comes down to almost a point, but then it's flattened off on the end. And so there's a little bit of width to that point. And it was just a little bit too wide to fit into the narrow slots that these screws had. So I had to sharpen the point of the screwdriver so that it was narrower point and would fit into the slots in the screws. And I did that using a knife sharpening stone. I've already removed the screws off camera. And the screws that I was talking about were the ones that held this and this in place. And these are the lower jewels for the balance wheel and the pallet fork. And what I'm actually removing are what's called the capstones of the jewels. These two jewels are different from the other jewels in the movement. The other jewels, like this one right here, are simply the jewel has a round hole through the middle that the spindle of the gear fits through, and so they're pretty simple. But the ones that have a capstone, like these two, you have the regular jewel with the hole in it that the spindle goes through, and then underneath that you have a flat jewel that the bottom of the spindle rides against then. And you have to take these apart when you're cleaning the movement, because if I don't take these off, the space in between the cap jewel and the regular jewel will not get properly cleaned. So if there's any dirt or dried up lubricants or anything in there, it won't get cleaned out, and then the movement won't work correctly. So it's very important that these be removed before we clean the movement parts. So I've already got the screws out. I'm going to go ahead and lift them out with the tweezers. And these are very, very small, so we need to be careful here. And this one is still down in the movement. I got to kind of pop it out with the tweezers. There we go, almost. And there we go. That's the last parts that had to be removed from the movement. It's ready for all the parts to be cleaned now. One last thing that I want to talk about before we clean the movement parts is the importance of organization. In the videos, as I've been taking the movement apart, I've been dropping the parts into an organizer tray. And this organizer tray is actually made for watchmakers. They sell them on Amazon, and you can get it for, I think I paid $8 for a pack of 2 of them. And the tray has a plastic base with compartments in it, and then a clear plastic top that's shaped like a bell jar that sits on top to protect everything from dust. And what I've done is I've labeled each compartment with a different part of the movement. So I have like part of the escapement goes in here, the balance wheels over here, motion works and keyless works are here, drivetrain gears and bridges are in here. The main plate of the movement is here along with the mainspring barrel, and then the hands are right here. It's not so much important to have them organized, have the regular parts of the movement organized. The various gears and springs and such are distinctive enough from each other that it's easy to figure out where they go back together. What I'm concerned about here is the screws. A watch movement has a lot of very small screws, and each one's a different size. They're not compatible with each other, and so you need to make sure that the right screws go back in the right holes when you put everything back together. And by having the screws organized according to where I took them out of, it will make it a lot easier when I put this back together to figure out which screws go in which holes. And when I clean the movement parts, I'm going to take all the parts out of this tray and put them into the cleaning machine, but I'm not going to take the screws out. The screws don't really need to be cleaned. So they're going to stay in the right compartments so that I know where they go when I put this back together.